Hey everyone, and welcome to Rambling Reviews, where we analyze different types of media and/or their cultural relevance. My name's Christian, and this is Batman in Detective Comics, issue number 32. Now, this is the second part of the Batman versus the Vampire, as it were, series. It's the first two-parter in Batman's, early run in Detective Comics and things of that nature. And I'm going to be honest, reading through it again for this review, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You're going to have to bear with me here as we go through this, but things kind of just happen, and there's not really much explanation for anything, which is a big pet peeve of mine in a lot of, wherever there's like any kind of stories where things just happen, but there's not really any reason or explanation as to what's going on here. So we'll we'll explain what that looks like here as we continue on here. Basically, these the Detective Comic stories with Batman especially have been these, detective stories and these mystery stories where you kind of get the pieces and figure out what's going on, and by the end Batman reveals everything, kind of like, Sherlock Holmes, right? Of course, one of the main characters he's based off of, as well as characters like the Shadow and other characters like that. But this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and we'll just get into it here, and you'll see what I mean. So the story opens with Batman still on the hunt for the vampire, as well as answers as to what's going on with his fiancée Julie here, where he comes across he's in Hungary now, and he comes across this carriage being pulled with this woman who seems to be in a trance similar to Julie. So Batman throws a smoke pellet, gets her out, and decides to take her, I guess, to Julie for answers. He explains he hopes that Julie's safe, and he doesn't know who this woman is, but that he should find out soon enough. Now, this is kind of an issue that I have here right off the bat that we're seeing, where we're not seeing any explanation as to, really why he's doing this, and it's only going to get worse as we continue on here. For example, Batman essentially introduces Dala. That's the name of the woman. She introduces herself to be Dala. Introduces her to Julie, and that's it. Like there's literally one panel of them talking, and Dala's like, "Well, your friend here kidnapped me," and then cut to the next panel, and Batman's outside guarding Julie's room, which I guess Dala's in there as well. This isn't really explained, but what it is explained is there's like a scream, crying, a moaning, they say, and no, Julie and Dala aren't getting it on. Dala walks out with some in some kind of trance as well, and what we have is, this moment where Batman tries to kind of, I guess, help her snap out of it, and she just knocks him out with a trophy. And okay, you're thinking, all right, well, we won't, you know, we're not going to have everything spelled out to us. We're going to see more of kind of what's happening, and we'll get our explanation toward the end. And you'd think that, but just, stay with me here. So Bruce, of course, goes to check on Julie and finds that she has these two little dots on her neck, which, by the way, I want to point out, look how faint these dots are. These are like barely even visible, and they're not even on the right place of where vampires sink their teeth in. They always do the side of the neck. Unless that's a more modern adaptation thing and didn't exist back in like the 30s when this was written, or wasn't as well known, or what have you. But either way, Batman sees Dala escaping, chases her down, and when he finally catches her, she pleads with him, basically saying how, I understand that you're terrified of the monk. I am too, and I can actually take you to him. I'll do so, but you have to promise to kill him. To which Batman says, I'll be the judge of that. And so he just asks, where does the monk hide? But okay, first of all, Batman being Batman, he just, when he finds her, he just accuses her of being a vampire, and there's no like mention about the fact that vampires aren't real, or that, Batman would think this is a superstition, or, oh, there has to be a logical explanation to this or something. No, he just like buys it completely and is like, okay, you're a vampire, I'm going to take you down, basically. And then we have this moment where he tells Julie he's giving her money, which will safeguard her, and I don't know what that means. Money isn't going to protect her against the monk, but whatever. And you know, Dala leads Batman to the mansion in which they're trapped, and the monk hypnotizes Batman and takes all of them up to his mansion. Now, from here, it's even more strange because it seems like Dala is causing the shots. She's telling him how his vengeance must be perfect. Him as in the monk, telling the monk and how his vengeance must be perfect. Telling him what to do. He's like, lure Julie here, so that Batman can know what fate the girl is doomed to. She says, all these different things, because the whole concept is essentially that the monk is apparently a werewolf, and they're going to turn them into werewolves too, which doesn't make sense because they're vampires, and it only gets worse from here. This story is all over the place, and I do think that the Batman and the Mad Monk from 2006, uh, like update comic series, did a really good job like retelling this story. But the original here, I mean, this whole thing is just a mess. So the monk lures Julie here. She's under the spell, even though she told Batman she'd try to fight it, and doesn't do too well at that. Keep in mind, remember, Julie doesn't know that Batman, or Julie doesn't know that Batman is Bruce. The others don't know that Batman is Bruce. They don't understand the connection that Batman and Julie have to each other. They just know that he seems to want to protect her for some reason, and so they are using her to torture him in some way. And I understand that concept, but they bring her, and the monk tells Batman that soon Julie's going to be a werewolf just like we are, which, when he says we, I guess he's referring to himself and Dala, but Dala seems to be a vampire, if anything. I mean, we had the bite marks. Unless these are supposed to be werewolf bite marks, maybe something got, lost in writing here when they were writing the story. I don't know what it is, but speaking of werewolves and getting things incorrect, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. But the monk transforms into a werewolf as he throws Batman into a den of other wolves. I assume also werewolves. Now, I have no problem with him transforming at will or anything like that. But I have a huge problem when werewolves are depicted in this way, when they're just a wolf. This is not a werewolf. This is werewolves are my favorite, like mythological creature, if you will, my favorite like fictional horror monster, whatever you want to call it. So this kind of thing offends me, like personally. I hated when they did it in Twilight. I hate when they make werewolves look like this. This is not what a werewolf looks like. This is what a werewolf looks like. They're normally they stand up a bit on their back legs, or really just their legs, because they have arms and legs like a human. They are a werewolf, a man wolf, human, like part human, part wolf. They're not a full-on wolf on four legs, and it sometimes they have clothes tattered on them, all these different things. But I really hate when werewolves are depicted as just a regular wolf. Like, no, that is not a werewolf. That is just a wolf. That is not a werewolf. That is just somebody who can shapeshift into a wolf. Not impressive. Hate that shit. Get it out of here. Moving on. As Bruce is thrown into the wolf's den, he attempts to use his rope to catch onto some kind of knob that just happens to be there in order to, I don't know, catch himself from falling into the den. And I guess he intends to like pull himself back up, or maybe swing back around or something. I'm not entirely sure. But it doesn't work, and he ends up kind of having to deal with the wolves. He throws a capsule at them, of course knocking them out with his sleep gas, essentially. And the only time that the Batarang comes into play this time, as opposed to the last issue where it was like on full display, constantly being used, and I thought it was great, now it's used as a makeshift grappling hook where he uses it to tie himself around this pillar and pull himself up that way. Okay, I mean, on one hand, I guess this is the precursor, you could say, to the grappling hook, but it's just like, like I said, things just kind of happen. This is probably where it gets the worst. This comic can't seem to make up their mind as to what the monk and Dala are, because we just saw, like earlier it seemed like they were vampires. Now it seems like they're werewolves, or at least the monk is a werewolf. Okay, maybe the monk's a werewolf and Dala's a vampire. But what Batman does after he checks on Julie to make sure she's okay, he finds a silver statue. And he comments to himself as he melts the silver into silver bullets because, as he says, or as the narrator says at least, only a silver bullet can kill a vampire. So we're just getting our lore and our mythology all mixed up. No, it's garlic, crucifixes, holy water. Trying to think of something. Did I say garlic? Yeah, a stake, like a wooden stake, through the heart. Those are the things that kill a vampire. Silver bullets are for werewolves, which is fine if they actually are werewolves, and we're thinking, okay, maybe there's some writing issue or something. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe something like that. That would make sense, kind of, but Batman finds Julie and the monk sleeping in a coffin like vampires, where he then puts a silver bullet in both of them, saying how they'll never harm any mortal again. Okay. And then we end with Julie being safe and back with Batman. Now would be a good time for him to let her know that he's Bruce, but that doesn't happen. Although it ends well, and we have a stamp of approval from Bob Kane indicating that, of course, he took all the credit for this because that's what he did. But what was any of that? I defy you to read the original issue that I just went over yourself and tell me what the hell did I just read and what did you just read after you've read it. I mean, again, this story is all over the place. It starts with a strong premise and then ending on the cliffhanger from the last issue, where we had Batman going to continue to chase the Mad Monk into Hungary, maybe figure out what's going on, all these different things, right? But instead, we just get this random woman who, okay, we find that she has a connection to everything, but she seemed like she was under a trance. We don't get any explanation as to what this trance was about. Somehow, the monk has the ability to control minds, and that's another thing. Is he a vampire? Is he a werewolf? Is he a mind control hypnotist? What is he? What is Dala? What is any of this? What is this story? And then we find out, okay, no, they're actually werewolves. Okay, fine, they're werewolves. We see that in some of the drawings. We see the kind of furry hands going on with the monks, stuff like that. Okay, fine, they're werewolves. Then they turn into these, god-awful four-legged werewolves, not actual upright werewolves. Already talked about that, though. Not going to harp on that too much. But, okay, they're werewolves. Then we find, after Batman escapes the werewolves, oh, I'm going to melt silver bullets because it's the only way to take down a vampire. Wait, first of all, didn't they just say they're werewolves? Like, okay, you're right that, yes, a silver bullet will kill a vampire. Will kill a werewolf, which will make sense if that's what they are. But apparently now they're vampires again. And we know this because it ends by Batman shooting them both with silver bullets in are they like while they're in their coffins sleeping? Are they meant to be like a hybrid of like werewolves and vampires? Like what the hell what is going on? Nothing makes sense in this issue. Again, the incredible series by Matt Wagner is an incredible like retelling of this story, but oh my god, this entire it is just this might be the worst one yet. I've really enjoyed what we've read so far with Batman, but yeah, this is just bad. This is just not, and it's not bad because it's like it's boring or anything like that. It doesn't make sense. What is this? What did I just read? Like, seriously, what is it? I don't know. I don't know. It's wow. Yeah, that was really bad. Obviously they're not all going to be hits. The only real thing we kind of saw from like the Batman mythos that will carry over, I think, is when he tied around his the rope to his grappling to his batarang, which could have been I'm sure is a precursor to the grappling hook. But I mean, other than that, there's like nothing this story did except that later Matt Wagner would take it and use it to retell it again in 2005. But yeah, this is really bad. This story didn't make any sense. At least not to me. Again, if you've read it or you're gonna read it or whatever, feel free to let me know what you think. But yeah, I mean, even when I was reading this, I spent a while rereading this trying to figure out what was going on, and it just nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense at all. Either way, as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, I hope you find something to do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.